नमस्कार दोस्तों, हर संडे की तरह आज भी आपके साथ जुड़ गया हूँ। लेकिन आज बैंकिंग के बारे में बात नहीं करूँगा। बैंकिंग तो हम सब करना जानते ही हैं, लेकिन एक जो सब्जेक्ट है जिसके ऊपर ज़्यादा ध्यान नहीं गया है लोगों का, लेकिन वो पूरे बिज़नेस को अफेक्ट करने वाला है, ग्लोबली भी करने वाला है, कर रहा है, और लोकली नेशनल लेवल पे भी वो असर करने वाला है। There is one subject which is taking a lot of time of our planners, and the government is also very keen on that. And the subject which I am talking today is about data privacy, data protection, and data security, all the three areas. You might be knowing that in December 2021, the Joint Parliamentary Committee finalised one draft bill to be presented to the Parliament about the data privacy bill or the data protection bill. This bill was in fact in the offing from 2017, wherein the Supreme Court wanted the Government of India to take proper steps to ensure the data protection, because privacy, the data privacy was considered to be a fundamental right of individuals in the country. Based on that, the Reserve Bank of India appointed a committee under a Supreme Court judge. Then committee formed a report, and which was referred to a Joint Parliamentary Committee. This Joint Parliamentary Committee has given final recommendation to the Government of India in December 2021. It is about the data protection bill which the Government of India wants to introduce. This bill, once introduced, is going to make a lot of changes about the way the digitization that is happening in the country, and therefore to inform you as to what are the developments and how the Indian economy will move forward in the world of digitization. Today's video is all about that, and I believe that the data protection bill, once it will see the light of the day, it will have a lot of changes in the way the business organizations work, especially the bankers, because bankers are responsible for collecting various data from the customer in under the name of KYC and all other security details. We obtain a lot of information from the customer. This law will ensure that certain compliances in terms of its security and safety will be ensured. For the first time, the concept of appointment of data protection officer will come into play, and banks will have to submit a compliance towards it, and then data breach and data security will become the buzzword in the days to come. Of course, in Europe and in America, the things are already moving forward in a great way. In order to enable all of you to understand what this data protection, data privacy, data security is all about, I could connect with one Mr. Sameer Ahirrao, who is basically a highly qualified individual who has started his own company named Ardent in US. His opening line of his profile is giving a very fundamental and fantastic statements, which I'll read it out for you. He says that we cannot protect what we do not know. Enterprises must know their data assets to protect them effectively. These are the punchlines. If you visit the Ardent website, you will find these are his punchline. Sameer is a security leader, data security leader, having an experience of almost 22 years. Was with Symantec, Deloitte, and Lockheed Martin, working in this area. He started his company Ardent, which will provide solutions, or which is rather providing solutions to the companies into data protection and data privacy areas. His association with this company has ensured that India is also in a position to handle this subject very professionally. Sameer is basically an engineer, and he was with various companies which I stated about. Apart from that, he is a security leader and holds various other security accolades such as CISSP, CISA, CCSP, and more. He is a frequent speaker at international and local security conferences. He is also serving as co-chair for IAPP Baltimore KnowledgeNet. This being his qualification wherewithal, I thought that a chat with Sameer would give us a glimpse as to what is in store for us. And his chat with me was shot in my office. This will be in two parts. Today I am airing part 1, and exactly next Sunday I'll be airing part 2. His knowledge and his grip over the subject is fantastic. Very simple and very straightforward. His approach is very simple, and he appeals to your heart when he talks about. So listen to Sameer Ahirrao, who is a specialist in data security. I'll meet you, of course, in the next Sunday with the remaining part of this chat that has taken place. I hope you like this. You have been liking my channel aggressively. Please do like, subscribe, share, and tell all your banking fraternity, banking friends about this particular video, which will enable you to understand the basics of data privacy and data protection. Thank you for watching. नमस्कार दोस्तों, आज एक अलग ही सब्जेक्ट के बारे में हम लोग चर्चा करने वाले हैं. हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए हैं श्री समीर जी अहिरराव, जो यूएस में रहते हैं, और एक बड़ा ही अलग सब्जेक्ट जिसके बारे में हम लोग जानकारी नहीं रखते हैं या जिसके बारे में हम लोग ज़्यादा कंसंट्रेट नहीं करते हैं. This subject is taking the world, the digital world by storm from a very different perspective. All the businesses need to understand this subject, and India is of course laggard in this entire story. But Sameer has been doing wonderful job in this area in Europe and in USA. He has been consultant advisor, basically with an engineering background, as I told you in the initial introduction of Sameer ji Ahirrao. We are great to have his company, so thank you for accepting our request to do some chat on a very critical subject. The subject is about data privacy, data protection, data security, and then there would be relevant questions on the entire story. I'll request Sameer ji to talk about yourself for a few minutes, what you do, and then please explain the importance of data protection, data privacy and data security.
Absolutely. First of all, namaste. Thanks for having me here, and wonderful. Such a great topic, and I'm so pleased that Urban Cooperative Bank or the grassroots of whole Sahakar movement, right? I'm trying to contribute to a thought here in terms of data privacy and protection. So a little bit about myself. I have been working in this field for last 22 years, both here in India, where I started career right here in Mumbai, and then moved to United States. Been living there on the East Coast. So I'm founder and CEO of Ardent Privacy. We are a privacy and data protection technology company, headquartered in US, and also have a branch here in Pune, Maharashtra. So we are a software platform to provide all these data privacy and protection technologies, which are coming with global regulations, as well as we'll talk more about privacy. So very important topic, starting with the basics. So your question is, what is data privacy, what is data protection, and what is data security? So I'll tell you first what is difference between security and privacy. Those are different, and a lot of people don't get it, right? What is privacy? Fairly new topic in terms of, because we never had those issues, right? With digitization, so much personal data came in. But security is about protecting your data, right? So there are three aspects of security, which is called confidentiality, gopniyata, hum keh sakte hai. Another thing is integrity, right? Integrity is if from point A to point B information, it has to be secure. And C is availability, which is very important, and we'll get into that topic, that when we secure data, it has to be available as well to legit user, right? Because you have your customers, if they are not able to access what. So that's about security. Now privacy, right? Once you have access, you as a company, you as an individual, right? The responsible use, how you use that data, who you share with, that is all privacy about. So everybody has, say for example, you have some legit, say cooperative bank have access, how they collect, it's about collection, how they collect personal data. Do they collect minimal data? Do they share with whom? Is it required? So all these things, they are covered in privacy, and which has become absolutely important in the Facebook and Google world we are living in, where data is collected everywhere. So that's a fundamental difference between privacy. I hope that clears out something. And of course, I covered data security. data protection is actually used in multiple ways. In Europe, they call data privacy as also data protection.
Okay,
If you see general data protection, Gdpr regulation. So the protection, I would say, right, in my terms, is a combination of entirely basically protecting your data and also protecting the privacy. So it has some geographic aspect to it. But I would put that as a holistic subject. That's why when they cover the regulation, they put that as a data protection bill, like one incoming in India.
India is recently coming out with that bill, but then I would like you to throw some light on the regulation that exists in America and in Europe, and on what basis our country should look for it. Of course, I'll try to address that question also. But then what is the situation in America in terms of data protection, and what are the laws which the organizations are required to follow?
So we'll start with Europe. So GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation, is the Bible, or I will say Bhagavad Gita of entire world, because it's the most comprehensive, and Europeans really care about privacy. I don't know if you are following the news, but French regulators or German regulators, every regulator has actually has some kind of penalties to Facebook and Google for misuse of data. In terms of personal data, how they are using it, how they are monetizing it, because data is the new oil, if you are following, and it's just like a commodity, right? And which we are not, and the responsible use of that, it also comes a national security issue as well in general, and plus the consumer privacy. US, right? I would say surprisingly, in US we don't have a federal data protection regulation yet. And there are a lot of talks about that. So there is a regulation in California, the largest state, one of the largest state in America. It's called California CCPA, Consumer Protection Act, and the new version is CPRA, which is, I would say, mini GDPR. And there are two other states, Virginia, which is in my neighboring state. We live in Maryland. So and Colorado, right? And there are but 14 other states are actually passing the regulation. So it will come. I think federal protection bill is expected, and along with that there are some sectoral rules, HIPAA, Health Information Privacy, as well as Children Online Protection. That's a big deal. The Joe Biden President's State of Union address actually covered the children privacy, and I'll leave with a very good a conclusion there for that particular is, he said, right, in State of Union, that before kids, right, turn 13, there are 72 million data points gathered on them on the internet. So you understand what's the impact of society, right? Regulation is only one part, but as a privacy, the phenomenal impacts we will have, and as more incidents will happen, we'll need, what is the need of the discussion.
In fact, the situation in India was a little indifferent, in the sense that somewhere in 2017, Supreme Court insisted on Government of India to have a policy or have a law on data protection. So initially it started as a Personal Data Protection Bill somewhere in 2017, which was subsequently referred to the Joint Parliamentary Committee, and recently in December 2021, the committee has recommended a bill known as Data Protection Bill, and they eliminated the word personal data protection from that particular bill. Of course, the bill is yet to be presented to the Parliament, but it is enlisted in the ensuing parliamentary session where the bill will be picked up. With this bill coming up in India, the entire way the digitalization movement in the country has moved forward, the things which are changing, and you all might be knowing that how WhatsApp and Facebook were, including Twitter, they were arm twisted by Ministry of Information and Technology to comply with the Indian laws. With this situation, how you perceive the situation in India as to how it will grow with the digitalization, and how significant it is to have these laws in place?
Yeah, so I'll tell you, biggest IT enabled service economy, we need data protection law. There is no doubt about that. And of course, even our consumer, if you see 1 billion consumers, 1.3 billion consumers, we definitely need, we need right to our own data, right? What data the companies are collecting, and of course people need to trust Indian digital ecosystem or companies, right, as a hub to keep their data safe, right? Even the companies from US or Europe. That's one thing. So I'll tell you, there is a lot of friction between personal and non-personal data, which you pointed out. So I'll tell you, it's a pretty innovative concept that they added a non-personal data, but there is one caveat, right? That what should be done with that. So what happens is there is a definition of personal data. It's called personally identifiable information, PII.
Okay.
So say for example, your name is Mr. Shirwadkar, right? So your name and phone number. So your name itself, there might be many Shirwadkars, right? It's not personal data until you have a name and phone number together, right? So that's your personal data. So I'll tell you what has happened over. So regulators enforce restrictions and companies find ways to, right, comply with that in a most efficient or sometimes. So a lot of GDPR actually came up with big time 2016-18 the full enforcement. So there is what people did, right, that say for example we collect data and run some analytics on it, monetize it, whatever, but we anonymize it. So we take the name out of that and that is not covered by GDPR.
Okay.
But if you see, right, that is also not perfect because you can identify people, right? So if you say Shirwadkar in one kind of zip code or basically a pin code, right? Even if you put the first name out or name out, you can identify that individual very easily. And people are getting away with that probably, right? That hey, this is anonymized data and there is no perfect anonymization. So covering non-personal data, right, in a context that if it is linked, can be linked to a personal data is a very good thing, right? So regulators or that data is the law should be acted in its meaningfulness, right? Meaningfully acted on that. But at the same time, caveat is there is, it should not be that I have any data on my laptop which is covered by the data protection bill, right? So that comes under the civil liberties, right? The government authorities should not be able to just strangle you for something which is not even relevant. So I think if it is taken in the real meaning of if that non-personal data is linked to a personal data and done that, I think, and there are many lawyers, I will leave those to lawyers, right? I'm an engineer, so I will not say that hey, what exactly the bill, but I'll tell you in a larger sense if we look into that issue in that perspective. But I think that's a friction point, so we need to take a good middle ground, but that should not delay the data protection bill, and we should all let it pass in terms of for our own sake as a society, as a government, as a bank or whatever, to have some responsible data protection law.
Sameer ji, let me tell you, कुछ महीने पहले Reserve Bank of India issued guidelines to the urban cooperative banks in terms of cyber security norms. It was somewhere around 2018, and around that time Reserve Bank of India also mooted an idea of tokenization of debit card transaction payment, where the idea was the masking of the information of the individual, his card number, his PIN number. Normally if I go on a website or like Amazon, I want to buy a product, all my data is with them, and Reserve Bank of India is really worried, and therefore they introduced this. But then the banks in India resisted the implementation, what the process is called as tokenization. They resisted, but then with this bill which is likely to come, that will also fall in place. My question is something different. As a banker, I collect huge data from the customer under the garb of
need it for KYC.
KYC and all that. But I do not see any policy level guidance on that. How do I protect that data? And do I have to protect it? What happens if there is a data breach from my side? Somebody at my end shares the information. How do I protect the consumer who is giving me the data? Typically to an urban cooperative bank, which is a small one. Customer जाके उसका पूरा डिटेल दे देगा, और वो बैंक में से अगर कहीं डेटा लीक हो गया तो क्या? ये जो सवाल कंज्यूमर के मन में भी रहता है, तो पीपल आर वरीड कि आई एम गिविंग इन्फॉर्मेशन, आई एम गिविंग माई पैन कार्ड, आई एम गिविंग माई आधार कार्ड. देयर वाज लॉट ऑफ controversies couple of years ago where the Aadhaar card data was breached and leaked and all that.
I know.
So how as a bank you feel we should be protecting the data of the customers?
So I will say, right, tokenization is one technology, right? So I think there can be a lot of technologies, right? And I think tokenization is good idea. What it does is, even if you are storing the KYC, it is always in some kind of encrypted format, right?
Okay.
So tokenization is the easier way of encrypting data. So you store Sameer as Mr. Shirwadkar and Mr. Shirwadkar as a Sameer, and it's reversible, right? That whenever you want to know. But third party, if somebody else reads that data, so absolutely good, right?
Okay.
One good control, especially for a confidential data points, right? So your account number, your passwords, right? And masking. So these are like fundamental basic things. I know they are incredibly sometimes difficult to implement. So I know where you are coming from, and I'm trying to help this customer, right? So I told you earlier, right? So security has three aspects of it: confidentiality, integrity, and availability, right? So whether it's RBI, whether it's bank, right? Availability, eventually I need to give access to those funds to that common man, right? So I have to do the best. So there is no right answer, but you need to see what is the risk factor there. What is the possibility of being that compromised? But I'll tell you, security is like a seat belt, right? You get to know when accidents happen, right? So there are certain guidelines that if data breach happens, you need to notify individuals, and they're global, and I think with the data protection bill they will. But everybody has to do their part while protecting, because you have ultimately the responsibility to protect. And I'll tell you, you go to our website, right, ardentprivacy.ai. So we put the good value proposition that I'll tell you what will happen in the future. Consumer trust. So security and privacy is not just about regulation. Okay. Regulation is one part, right? Yeah. But so say for example, one time data breach happens, right? And consumer gives you your data, right? Absolutely, they're not happy about it, because there are another like 7 people misusing his data, some fraud happening. So you will lose consumer trust, and if it happens again and again and again, they will stop banking with you at some point. So it's not just about the regulators. They are there to, of course, enforce and take care of the customers and citizens. But more than that, we need to understand that if we lose, it's basically a negative game for you, that those people will actually go to your competitors. And you should definitely read how Apple actually implemented a privacy. So Apple actually just implemented one transparency. If you have actually installed the new OS of Apple, you'll see if one app actually tried to access information from other app or location or things of that, it just gives you consent, and they made it more transparent. $300 billion was lost in last quarter by Facebook. So Facebook actually gave in their quarterly filings.
Kya baat hai?
Yeah, that we gonna lose money because now people know. So if consumers are given choices to protect their data, they are ready for it. But if we do these things under the rug, so I think we all have ultimate responsibility. It is not basically it's a positive. You will increase your business more and more. You won't see that immediately, but more consumer trust you establish with giving them confidence that I won't share your data, I will protect it well, and at the same time I'll give you the access to the money.
As you rightly said, the impact of all these measures are being felt in India too. For example, I have a Google account, and if I normally log in from my laptop, and then suddenly I decide to log in from my mobile, the Google is sending me a message, boss, आप वही हो ना जो log in कर रहे हो. There is something, a small trick where they are asking you whether you are the genuine person, and so on and so forth. But in this area, what I feel is that the idea of data protection for urban cooperative bank, which are trying to build digital platforms, it's to me it's a mindset change that is needed. What is happening is that ये डेटा प्रोटेक्शन ये वगैरह सब झमेला सब आ गया, तो हम सोचते क्या है कि यार इसमें हम धंधा कब करेंगे? When the hell we are going to talk about the business, and when we are going to do profit? Now, if these regulations come into play, will they really improve our business, or how? What is your view on that?
So I'll tell you, and it's absolutely great point, right? Again, availability, right? What we were saying earlier. So we are here to do business, not just security, right? We may have a most secure system in the world which is not accessible, does not make sense.
Right.
So there is an important value prop, right? Value proposition we say. So your security and privacy should be aligned to your business needs, right? So whenever regulators, and you said that they don't give detailed guideline, so there is one benefit with that. They want you to decide what your requirements are, and you need to align what is my risk appetite, right? So if I basically implement two-factor authentication, which is absolutely good, gives more security, right? OTP, and I'll tell you, the whole two-factor authentication, I think India is one of the forefront. People understand OTP. I go to somebody and they know OTP. Otherwise, I remember 10 years back, people, the big IT people, right? They used to say, no, man, two-factor authentication, it's just too much pain, right? I'm not gonna, put like 3 times credentials and something. Here we understand, we adopt so easily to the technology, but that's how I will take that as it has to be aligned to your business needs, right? Don't bother consumers or employees to the point, because the long-term impact I saw, right? If you make those systems incredibly complex, it does not support the system, but it actually becomes the harm in itself that people stop adopting it.
This is, friends, precisely what the Reserve Bank of India has been telling us, that you should go for two-factor authentication if at all you have to access the CBS. I hope that your bank has implemented that, because this is where the data protection and privacy all starts and begins. There is one more related question about data protection and privacy, is that we have a different kind of phobia of these two terminologies. ये डेटा प्रोटेक्शन, डेटा प्राइवेसी और ये सब आ गया कि हमारे जैसे अर्बन कोऑपरेटिव बैंकर जो बूढ़े हो चुके हैं वो सोचते हैं कि ये टेक्नोलॉजी वालों ने हमको खा लिया है, हम लोग बाकी सब छोड़ के यही करते बैठेंगे. बट गिवन द डिजिटाइजेशन दैट इज हैपनिंग इन इंडिया, दिस इज वेरी क्रिटिकल. What according to you would be the business on the banking sector and on the urban cooperative banking sector with the introduction of these rigorous norms of data protection, data privacy, data security? I mean, do you visualize any negative impact, or how is that?
So I'll tell you, so digitization is coming, digital transformation. I don't think we saw all in COVID time, right? How much it helped you, right? Tell me, imagine, right, in the COVID, how many more deaths you have seen if everybody has to come to the bank for withdrawal of funds. So I think technology has helped immensely, right? For different. So I'll tell you, the regulators will, and they should, right? They will give you enough time to implement, right? But we need to look at the security and privacy just like seat belts. Slowly adopt and implement what you think right for your organization and in the best interest of your consumers, your employees, right? And there are some fundamental things, right? You cannot have a one character password, right? You need a username and password and two-factor, which is kind of common, because it's your money. You want to protect it, right? In terms of the whole. So I don't see we should take that negatively. I think if I saw your bank website, right? It's completely digitized anyway, right? There are like little thing, and even people are starting their journey today, and that's why basically companies like us exist, to make it super simple in terms of but you need to invest in your future in terms of, because I don't think this is going away in any time soon, and it is just a need, right? So stop looking that as that only as a regulation I have to do it. Take it that my consumers will be happy with it, and I will gain more business with it if I enable that in a more simplified. And I am not follower anymore for complex security technologies, because we have to make it available to a common man.
So friends, this is Sameer for you, giving you absolute vision for the future. We are going to stop here, and we'll continue the discussion on next Sunday also. Thank you so much for watching.